Today in crypto, Bitcoin could be entering a new accumulation phase after its just massive run up that it has had over the last few weeks. Now, if indeed we are hitting that kind of just sideways ranging accumulation action here, then Bitcoin could be on schedule to hit its new all-time high in late December, or maybe in early January, at least according to recent trends. We also have another just super investing legend who has revealed his Bitcoin holdings and why he is bullish on Bitcoin right now, sending yet another signal to the Wall Street herd to buy Bitcoin now. The stock markets have also pumped to new highs today on a wave of just, hype surrounding the coronavirus vaccine that's coming out. So that's very exciting to see as well. My name is Lark, and this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out here in the wild island of crypto. So, quick reminder to everyone that this week's issue of Wealth Mastery will be hitting inboxes on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, every single week, the team and I bring you just a seriously value-packed investor report, including coins to watch, a deep dive report on a hot altcoin, an interview with a project lead, token sales to have on your radar, upcoming airdrops, sophisticated technical analysis on top cryptocurrencies, a weekly DeFi tutorial, stock market tips, and it's just so much more beyond that. So if you're interested in finding out more about that report, then just click on the link down below and you can learn about becoming a member today. So let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin dropped today actually on the news of the coronavirus vaccine. We'll talk a little more about that in a second, but it was also a failed retest attempt at that recent line of resistance, which is also historically a very important line of resistance at $16,000. So 16K, big deal for Bitcoin right now. If we can crush it, then Bitcoin is basically cleared for takeoff to test hitting a new all-time high. That's how close we're getting right now. But we're actually likely to see a few failed tests of this 16K line before we actually break over it. If we look back to previous key zones, it actually took 3 attempts to break 12,500 and 4 attempts to finally break over 10,500. These lines also now happen to be, of course, key lines of support for Bitcoin. Now, a retest of 12,500 would be about an 18% drop for Bitcoin from here. A retest of 10,500 would be a 30% drop. Either of those things could happen. You need to be mentally prepared for that. And, of course, have your cash on the side ready to buy Bitcoin if it does. But what I think is the more likely scenario is that we start to actually form a new accumulation zone here for Bitcoin. Now, we have seen this happen twice after big run-ups this year. Bitcoin will make just this massive move, super parabolic, oh my gosh, new paradigm money, and then the bulls kind of get tired. They have to take a little bit of a nap before pushing higher. We range sideways, basically moving up and down, kind of 10 to 15% in either direction, but not really outside of that range. The last 2 accumulation phases lasted on average for about 13 weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation involved in the comments I'm making here, but if we do see a similar pattern playing out this time and we do form a new area of accumulation, we do enter that new accumulation phase here, then Bitcoin might not see its next significant breakout to a new all-time high until like late December or maybe early January 2021. Now, with all the macro stuff happening, of course it could happen sooner. It's the Bitcoin honey badger after all, crazy things can happen. But another accumulation phase, I personally believe that would actually be a nice, healthy move for Bitcoin to establish a new base for us. That, just that area to push higher for prices with a good, just solid, lots of support in there, lots of buying pressure moving up. That would be good to see. And look, $20,000, it's obviously just the start for Bitcoin. It's going to be a very nice moment. We'll pop open some champagne or something here on the show. But if things play out as expected, then Bitcoin has a very good chance of reaching $100,000 in 2021 or in early 2022. That's kind of the target from the cycle and the halving and all that stuff. And if Bitcoin overshoots that target and ends up at 150 or 200K, great, happy days. I'm going to love that. That'll be fantastic. By the way, if Bitcoin does actually range sideways during November and December, you know what that's going to mean, right? It means that altcoins are going to cycle back in and take a ride on the gains train for a few weeks. So be ready for that eventuality if it does come to pass. Again, altcoins are going to make some massive gains for investors. And look, while Bitcoin did take a bit of a dip today with the whole, stock market soaring, The stock markets actually did pump up, but then they actually came back down. As the kind of hype faded, people were like, oh, okay, well, that's exciting, but whatever. But the S&P 500 did actually smash a new record high price today, which is insane. It's actually like the fifth time that the S&P 500 has hit a new all-time high since Bitcoin hit its all-time high back in 2017. Come on, Bitcoin. Come on, man. It's your turn now, buddy. Let's get it done. Anyway, why were the stock markets pumping today? Well, two big reasons. The first is that the U.S. election has now finished, with Joe Biden being announced as the next president of the United States. And we all know that markets like certainty, so they can calm down a little bit now and just get back to business as usual. And the second massive bit of news pumping up the stock markets today is that Pfizer has just announced a successful COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the vaccine apparently has a 90% success rate. Sorry to the other 10% of people it doesn't work on, but 90% is pretty good. Not perfect, obviously, but apparently good enough for the markets to pump. Markets, they seem to think that this is definitive enough to, get back to business as usual, or at least move towards that. Now, the data from the trial still needs to undergo peer review and to be approved by regulators. The approval from regulators, by the way, it's likely to come as soon as the third week of November, so that could happen very, very quickly for us. And this is obviously a big step in the right direction, so we can get back to business normal globally for the global economies. It's possible we could even see the vaccine start to be distributed by the end of 2020, so that's really cool to see. And all this makes me think that 2021, it's going to be really, really good for markets. Remember, the S&P 500 tends to perform very well during the first term of a Democratic president. Democratic presidents tend to outperform Republican presidents in terms of the stock markets, and that we will likely see all sorts of stimulus happening in early 2021, which will also pump up the markets. And that with the pandemic behind us, with the vaccine being rolled out, markets will also see a huge boost of confidence. So bullish on 2021 in general, but let's see what happens, of course. And the final thing I want to share with you today is that we have yet another legendary investor, billionaire Wall Street dude, shilling Bitcoin. Yes. Yes. This time it's Stan Druckenmiller. So let's just have a quick listen to what he had to say on CNBC here, and then we'll have a little breakdown of his points.
I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but I have warmed up to the fact that Bitcoin could be an asset class that has a lot of attraction to it as a store of value to both millennials and the new West Coast money. And as you know, they've got a lot of it. It's been around for 13 years, and with each passing day, it picks up more of its stabilization of a brand. So I own many, many more times gold than I own Bitcoin. But frankly, if the gold bet works, the Bitcoin bet will probably work better because it's thinner and more liquid and has a lot more beta to it.
Another Bitcoin bull. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, the significance of one of the world's most respected money managers, Mr. Druckenmiller, saying that he is basically long on Bitcoin and that he believes Bitcoin is going to outperform gold. So big. So big, it's crazy. The Wall Street billionaires, they're starting to show up in their droves. We have all these big investors coming through. Paul Tudor Jones into Bitcoin. George Ball into Bitcoin. Bill Miller into Bitcoin. Cathie Wood. Chamath. And now Stan Druckenmiller. Come on, everyone's getting on the party. They're sending a very, very strong signal to all of the other fund managers, to the family offices, to the companies, to the endowments, and really to anyone listening. And the message is this: buy Bitcoin. And you better do it sooner than later because everyone's starting to take notice. It's time to get off zero. We all know this already, but it's exciting to see this being spread as a big message across Wall Street. And if we look at the data from Grayscale purchases, it really shows us that, yes, the big money crowd is indeed listening. We've seen just record buys for Grayscale recently, and 80% of their customers, they're hedge funds, right? So this is the big money crowd showing up. Now, this chart here shows the entity net growth for new money entering Bitcoin. You can see what a massive spike has happened over just the last few weeks, showing there's been a lot of money coming into Bitcoin. So it's not a coincidence that all these hard-hitting Wall Street investors, they've been doing the rounds on the talk shows recently. Well, Bitcoin accumulation is absolutely soaring up. And it is big fish getting into the game. Yes, retail investors are here. They're buying on Cash App. They're going to be buying on PayPal. They're buying on Coinbase. But you can see here the number of Bitcoin addresses holding 100 Bitcoin or more has soared in recent weeks. And that doesn't even tell you the full picture, since institutions and high net worth types, they're buying via Grayscale, or they're buying via other funds like the NYDIG fund. And that's not represented here because they're just, it's accumulation addresses that may not be represented as, in lots of 100. But the equation is simple. Big time investors, they're looking at the strong risk reward potential of Bitcoin. It's an incredible bet for investors to make right now. It's a ratio that's much more favorable than gold and has a lot more room to go. They're also looking at interest rates at 0 or near 0, or even negative interest rates in a lot of economies. In fact, negative yielding debt has now hit a total of $17 trillion, which is not cool at all. And these investors are also looking at the potential for some very major inflation to happen. Remember, it was actually Druckenmiller that said that he could see inflation hitting 5, or even in the most extreme case, 10% over the next few years. Now, in such just an extreme fiscal environment, gold and Bitcoin, they're set up to do really, really well. And yes, as Druckenmiller said, Bitcoin is going to outperform gold. So, the question for you today, do you think that Bitcoin is going to be entering an accumulation zone here? Or are you feeling a little more bullish, think that we're just days away from Bitcoin blasting up to $20,000? Or are you still a Bitcoin bear? Not many of those around anymore, but maybe you think that that's it, the run's over, it's time to go back down and find the mythical CME gap at $9,800. Let me know your opinion down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.